Hi, it's Elizabeth. Hope everybody is well. This might be a little bit of a venting video just for me to get it off of my chest, but it is really important during this very critical time that we start to understand money and how we need to move off of these platforms. I've talked about it before. I am very passionate about it, but I do genuinely believe we have to start making drastic shifts and changes as much as possible in order to shift the dynamics of this world. So I find it extremely hilarious that so many of these freedom fighter, truth people, passionate, natural health advocates are fighting for this liberation against the system, but yet they are starting to sell their own books or products off of Amazon. They are selling you supplements that you can take for yourself to improve your health. I'm going to tell you this. I got shitted on a few years ago from a couple people when I asked for like donations of this channel because I thought I was providing a lot of health and spiritual information for free, and everybody else does it on these platforms. And so I've just I'm going to say I've not received one donation from anybody off of YouTube. So I still continue to do this because I genuinely believe in helping people and trying to get a lot of this message out to people who are not within my immediate radius in the Seattle area, such as being like my students or friends or something like that. And so I've continued to work on this to sort of get people to ascend themselves. I have been hired by like 2 people to help them with like a one coaching session within the realm of health and or in spirituality. And, I did offer a very highly discounted rate. All of these West Coast people are charging like $200 to $300 for an hour. And I just offered like $45-$50, which if is very affordable. But anyways, this is where I'm going. So if you're not familiar with some of the trends that have been going on, is that there has been a movement of people waking up over the last couple decades, predominantly within the realm of, let's just say, health, okay? So when a lot of these shifts and changes started happening, like people are like, wow, eating plant-based, vegetarian, vegan meals, like I feel really healthy. That started off with a lot of independent people who created some sort of product or whatever, and that slowly has started to get bought out by these bigger companies such as meat companies or pharmaceutical companies. For example, Daya is like a vegan cheese. They have bought out by by a Japanese pharmaceutical company, and then a lot of other products. I think corn, they did like these vegan chickens that I believe got bought out by Tyson. I have been pretty much vegetarian vegan I think I was born this way, like that. I just made this conscious decision at the age of 8 that like I didn't even like meat. Like my parents forced me to have one meatball with my spaghetti or like a little piece of chicken like this with my meal. I just never liked it. So I think I was born this way, and I am not advocating for these vegan meat and cheese companies because they are extremely highly processed, especially with the bioengineering technology that has come out. So I do not recommend anybody to even go anywhere near any of that stuff. And really, if you want to be healthy, you have to start eating really, as close to nature and as whole foods as possible. But why I get like really bent up about this stuff is because I have watched Amazon not only destroy places like Seattle that were peaceful, quiet, affordable places to live for a West Coast city, and it has just been destroyed. You can, when you come here, the air, like it's a palpable feel, like it just, everything is very different. And people who have zero clue about anything about energy is just like, yeah, it's just not the same anymore in Seattle. It's because this place has been conquered by a completely different consciousness of, these tech colonizers that have brought in, this awful work culture of throwing your coworkers under the bus, a very psychopathic work culture where you're just on a freight train. I've talked about this enough through other videos. But then you have people like Jeff Bezos who've just been like slowly taking over these other areas of life, like owning the Washington Post and taking over Whole Foods. And you can just genuinely see this behemoth of a thing start to take over all of these areas that are starting to control your life and your health. And when you don't have your health, you literally have nothing. That's an old archaic saying that really needs to be taken seriously. So the natural food world is kind of all of these great brands like Bragg's and all of that we've long come to love and used apple cider vinegar for healing because it actually works, has been slowly getting taken over and bought out by celebrities or has investments by people like Bill Gates. And it is extremely scary. But with somebody like Jeff Bezos, he has been invited to the Bilderberg conferences. And if you're not familiar with what the Bilderberg conferences are, you can Google this and look it up. But, it's where these elites meet and no press is allowed inside. So it's like, well, what the fuck are they talking about in these conferences? You obviously know it's not going to be beneficial for humanity. But in this digital era and age, like I said, I do not blame anybody for trying to make money, but we have to shift these platforms. Like so many people, okay, like there's a woman who's about free birth liberation on Instagram. Her name is Bauhaus Wife or something like that. And I don't disagree with her at all. She's, I think, on her 10th pregnancy, has done it all without any sort of ultrasounds, has never done it in a hospital, has done it at home. And I think that's great. But she's starting to sell her book on Amazon. So how do you love how do you hate the system, but then contribute to it, to these awful, awful, awful companies? Amazon is it's abusive work culture. I'll share a few examples. Well, before I share a few examples, I just want to finish my thoughts. So essentially, people like her or, this medical medium, he does raw food on, he does these raw food, I guess like diet consultations. Maybe he has like some cookbooks and stuff for like nutritional healing. He sells all of his products off of Amazon, and he does a lot of live videos on Facebook. And in the past, I don't really actually use Facebook much anymore, but in the past, I and a couple other people have been like, how are you pro like organic gardening, but then selling all of your shit on Amazon? And the reason why people are doing it is because they're still in love with, I don't want to say in love with the system, but they are attached enough to this earth plane reality of wanting and needing money that they will go to the platforms where all of the eyes of America are. And then there's a very, very, very small percentage of people, I would include myself in that are so abstinent on supporting anything like this. Like, I would love to support these independent people, but I'm not going to compromise my dignity and support Amazon when there's other publishing companies out there like Lulu. Now, I'm using her as an example, but there's another guy, I think his name is like Gary or Wayne, and he's been on like the Reveal Report and has talked about, he's like against the system and has talked a lot about kind of like exposing a lot of this like occultic stuff, but he's going to publish his work on Amazon. And again, we have to make a sacrifice, and that sacrifice is going to be, instead of getting a shit ton of money right away, because, the normie dumbed down people of America are the ones that are predominantly shopping on Amazon, and the lazy ones, We got to sacrifice that a little bit and shift and move to these other platforms. And Lulu is an excellent example. Now, the system has been taking over everything. Even BitChute, I think, is now kind of owned by the Khazarians. So that is scary, because at some point maybe we are all looped up into it. But money is energy, and what energy you are feeding is going to continue to cultivate and grow. It is extremely simple to understand. If we had leaders and corporate CEOs, remember, to be a CEO, you have to have some form of psychopathic tendency to get higher up into that. That's been well known through science for a long time. But if we had leaders in this world who were probably like, a lot of viewers on this channel, as well as myself, who could understand the trinity or the unity of love and compassion and empowerment from a positive perspective, we would have a completely different system where we would be using money to help all of these things. Instead, the dark side of the system are psychopathic energy suckers that are profiting off of us, not only monetarily, but also energetically as well. So really, all of these freedom fighter people, it's almost like a fucking laugh in the face, because it's like, well, I love truth and I want liberation enough, but not as much as necessary so it can benefit me, because I want to be an opportunist in this time to earn money, because the millions and millions of sleepy Americans are the ones that are promoting these companies by continuously shopping on it. Now, I will say, to give a little bit of benefit of the doubt, if you're like an old lady and you don't really have anybody around and you need something, this type of service, like a same-day shipping, might be kind of beneficial. The same-day shipping, this type of bullshit, is actually really beneficial for the solo individual who has nobody around to go and get them something when they're sick, or when they're too busy, or when they can't make it to the store before it closes. It's kind of like a business model that is supporting the very thing that is making us so sick and depressed. Places like Seattle, our Targets are closing down, our Bartels are closing down. So really, it's kind of like we're being almost forced or funneled into shopping on Amazon. I refuse to do it. There are so many other ways. I will drive to another part of the city to go and do stuff like that. But when you're starting to take away these inconveniences of living in a city, and for example, having a Target that's like a 6-minute drive, that's maybe where you can get some groceries and toilet paper and things like that. When those type of things are starting to get taken away, and then you have to drive 20 minutes to the suburbs, or you just don't even have that type of thing available within that realm, people are going to be funneled to shop online. So part of me wonders if all these Bartels and Targets that are closing in the city is just yet another scam, because I looked up the Scottish Rite website for Seattle, and Mr. Bartel is a 33rd degree Mason. I believe he's dead, because the Bartels pharmacy started, I think, in like the 1800s or the early 1900s. So the original person is dead. And then it kind of just makes you disgusted in general, because you're like, oh my God, like it is just so evidently clear once you understand how the system runs and operates, that these fuckers who've created, have gotten these like local chain businesses, were all just part of the system that got promoted and raised up. And it all shits on the independent entrepreneur, which entrepreneurship is part of the logical way to break out of the system in the matrix, because you can, get enough money and capital and freedom from micromanagement bosses to kind of operate and run things on yourself. Now, I also get bent up about people selling supplements, because if you're not familiar with this, Big Pharma, shocker there, has been buying out a lot of supplement companies. So a lot of those really good fuzzy brands that we've known and come to love for a really long period of time has begun getting bought now. And how many videos have you seen of certain pharmaceuticals on, even basic pharmaceutical drugs that have, you put, I don't know if I should say it, has had the graphene stuff in it. So you put, they dissolve it in water, they put the magnet on, and you can see all the graphene pulling out. That's been even seen. People, some German guy was testing even like San Pellegrino water versus other bubbly water, like your basic grocery store brand bubbly water. And the San Pellegrino had those little things in it. A lot of fish oil companies, I get frustrated because the typical American is trying to help themselves. People who come to fitness classes or hire a personal trainer or a health coach, they are genuinely on some level trying to help themselves. It's going to be a battle for a lot of them who've dug themselves down really deep into the ground, psychologically and addicted to junk food, but a lot of times they're helping themselves. And so when they see these brands like Celestial seasoning teas and they see fish oil, they might not be able to buy the expensive brands, so they'll buy like whatever they can afford from like Walmart. They're trying to help themselves, and in reality, they are poisoning themselves with the same rancid shit that is found in like McDonald's foods. I mean, there have been, I'm going to try to find these videos of fish oil is rancid enough where it breaks down styrofoam just by snapping open the tablet, it's the because it's, oh god dang it, the vitamin, because it's got the liquid inside, it's not the tablet solid form. That liquid inside of the vitamin inside of the casing breaks down and melts the styrofoam. So when you have all these people off of Instagram or these fuck stains like Alex Jones, I'm going to use that language, they have zero experience in the world of health. You could just look at Alex Jones and realize the guy's not healthy. I'm not even just saying from like a physical perspective of him being a little bit overweight. You do not know what you are putting into your body. You have to start eating everything closest to nature in order to get the vitamins and minerals that you need. And if you're really, really unhealthy or don't have enough energy producing in your body because of all these toxic chemicals, and if you've gotten all these, yes, you might need some supplementation to help, or at least some supplementation to pull a lot of this stuff and detox it out of your body. I would recommend more buying from a local naturopath who, especially if they're doing their own tinctures and have this wisdom and knowledge of that, that's going to be better than the stuff that you're buying off of Instagram or from these fucking freedom people who could be selling you shit. And you know what? If they're selling you rancid shit, they might not know about it, but they're the ones that are profiting off of this stuff, and it's keeping you in this loop. So that's why I get so bent up about this, because if you understand how God and energy and manifestation works, I really believe it is this unity of the mindset, your health, and that spiritual well-being, all encompassed with morality. And when all of these parts of your being start to unite or yoke together, that's when things really start to shift and change in your life. And it is a remarkable transformation, because you are rooting yourself to what God has created. And the more that you live through that natural God created lifestyle, the better off you're going to be. So you really have to look at these supplemental brands. It also frustrates me because it's like I've worked in this area for so long, and it's always like pulling teeth, and clients are always blaming you for their lack of success on weight loss when you can't watch a client 23 hours of the day and everything that they put in their food. But they always sell out for that quick fix pill, thinking I can just continue to live my life like shit and I'll take this pill and it will help improve my life. Now, if you have things like, if you have a chronic disease or cancer, these things are going to be necessary, but you really really have to do your research on where a lot of these supplements are coming from. I also want to share that, like, it kind of blows my mind. My Christian conservative friend who, sends me pictures. He got out of the city, moved out to like rural Washington. And he sends me photos and there's like Amazon packages in the back, and just recently told me like, hey, I quit Amazon. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I had no clue. He ended up starting to work for Amazon and delivery driving for them, and quit after 3 weeks because it wasn't within his realm and within his alignment. And where I'm going with this is, when he's driving that Amazon van, there's surveillance cameras that are watching you at all times of the day. So you are being watched all the time, but that hasn't broken, to quit that because it's a fucked up, creepy, dystopian type of job, but still supporting Amazon because it's convenient. That's the type of stuff that's going to enslave us, because you don't want to sacrifice certain things like having to drive. If you live in a rural area, like I could see how something like Amazon would be really convenient, but that's also a choice to choose to live out in the rural area, and things that are not going to be as accessible as they are in a city, which things like here are not even accessible living in a city because everything is closing down. And so it's like, if you can't even work for them, why are you giving them that energy? And money is energy. So you're giving them that energy and power to continue. And all of those warehouse workers who are slaving away at this laborious job because they have to meet quotas. When I was in Germany, at Rudolf Steiner's garden, when I did the whole Veleda thing back in, what year was that? That was 2017. I met a girl from the Czech Republic, and her brother worked for Amazon. And in Europe, you're having to walk up these like 5-story buildings because they don't have warehouses here. Like you just pop up a prefabricated thing. They use these old ancient buildings that are their warehouses. So they're walking up and down 5 flights of stairs all day long, and they have GPS trackers on them. Well, he had to go use the bathroom, and because he was in the bathroom for too long, according to Amazon standards, he saw a fucking mirror come underneath the stall, and I'm assuming it was his boss or somebody, was checking to see if he was actually using the bathroom or just kind of playing around on his phone. That drove him to quit. And that was in the Czech Republic. I don't think that's happening in America. You never know. But, these are awful labor practices, and places like Europe have developed a lot of work-life balance. And so the psychopathic garbage culture is ruining everything that Europeans have worked for. And, I had a lot of German friends who are very anti-Amazon. They did not want Amazon to move into Germany because they did not want them to change their work culture. And so this is a fucking plague that is ruining the Western world. And so this is why I have beef with freedom, truth, or I want to liberate humanity, but I want my money. So, all those mass sleepy people, I want them to pay me. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of like you might as well bend over and let Satan rear end you, because at some point you have to choose. And this is a very critical time to not sit on the fence. I don't even know how in the will of anybody who's fighting for freedom could sit on the fence and say truth for everybody and for humanity, but I'm going to support the system at the same time, the one company that's trying to take over all of our shopping habits, so we have absolutely no independent shops anymore, and we just all have to go right to Amazon and fill up Jeff Bezos's pockets with awesome amounts of stock money. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe I'm being too harsh and critical, being negative on this. I don't know, but I will tell you, if Amazon starts moving into your city and starts ripping down all of your historic buildings and stripping away all of the great things about your city and making it 17 times more expensive, think about this one. Amazon and I believe Bezos was empowered to keep our, or to push for our $15 an hour minimum wage. And guess what? He's starting to move shit to Bellevue and move H2 to other parts of the country. So clearly, Seattle's gotten a little expensive, because when you increase labor wages like that, everything else increases. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.